Hey peeps. Just give this a second, make sure it can pick up okay on camera. I've kind of got you all on the piss, so apologise for that. I'll just wiggle about with this camera a touch. See, try and get my big head in focus. How's it going, Dana? You alright, kid? Just give this a second, make sure it can pick up okay on camera. Right, that's definitely picking me up because I can hear myself now. So apologise for that. I'll just wiggle about with this camera a touch. Right, so I'll drop that. I know you can hear me, that's the important thing. How's it going, Dana? You alright, geezer? Garen, how's it going, fella? I don't know what you guys heard about me over the weekend, but I'm doing alright. I'll just wait for a couple of people to log on and then I'll yap away just so nobody misses it. I mean, I will share this anyway for people to just watch after the fact. So I thought I'd do a live video. I was just going to record something and stick it up, edit it and put it up on YouTube, but I've got to be honest, I can't be bothered. So I thought this is the simplest way of doing it. So just give me a couple of minutes. So I've got a massive list of people I want to thank and things I want to do. So I'm just kind of referring over to my messages and stuff here while I'm talking to you all anyway. So a few of you joining now anyway. So hi, how you doing, guys? Yeah, Craig Turner here, lead organiser for Revival Retro events. I'm broadcasting this from my personal page because I need to tell you all like kind of what's going on with me, and I know a lot of you do know me personally. But for any of you who don't, when I do share this to the Revival page, you're not being kept out of the loop. I just happen to know a lot of the people who come to the event. So anyway, it's now Tuesday the 10th of March. We're 2 days, how's it going, Mike, my Scottish twin? It's 2 days after Revival now, and it's also getting close to 2 days out of hospital for me. It's been an eventful week, as a lot of people know, and I hope that most of you are watching this, and I hope any of you feel rightly guilty that you missed Revival. If you did miss Revival last weekend, I hope the rest of you who did go, I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope it didn't disappoint. A lot of things have changed, which I'm going to come on to in a minute. But I just wanted to kind of just come on camera and just talk to you all face to face and explain a couple of things, not least of all, explain my absence. Right, so what happened, guys, was for a couple of months now, well, for about a year, to be honest, I've had strange niggly pains in my stomach. I'm completely transparent, so I'm going to be honest with you about it all. My health isn't the greatest anyway. It's been okay since I had the stroke, but in the last couple of years, age is catching up with me and different things are happening. What happened was my metabolism slowing down. Being on aspirin for a long period of time does strange things to your kidney and your liver function. And I've been told that I've got depleted kidney and liver function in the last 12 months, which hasn't helped towards my weight gain, which has been happening because it means my body's slowing down. And it's been harder to kind of fight those things off. Now, I have had a few stomach pains over the last year. The last few months, I've had some strange gurglings going on, but I don't really attribute them to anything because it just, you know, those kind of things I've always had after the stroke. And you just put it down to just growing old and whatever else, you know what I mean? You have a compromised immune system as it is. So, but anyway, what happened was, for a couple of days before last Tuesday, I'd been coming home from being out, and I would randomly be sat on the settee, and I would start to notice strange pains in my stomach, and I couldn't work out where they were coming from. And over the last couple of years, I'd actually been to hospital twice with similar pains, very, very low down on the right hand side, and I was concerned that I might have a problem with my appendix. So I went into hospital a couple of times, but it just passed. But then last Sunday it got quite bad. Monday I had it again the following evening. It was a bit more severe. And then Tuesday, I'd actually been with Aaron all day on Tuesday. And we'd been out just doing everything like normal, laughing, talking, sorting out things, ready for revival. And unfortunately, I came home and it took a nosedive very quickly. I came in, I had sharp shooting pains on my right hand side, stabbing around the point where your like hip joint meets the hip, and where the muscle goes over, it feels like it's coming from there. And the stabbing pains developed into just a searing pain. The pain continued all around my stomach, all around my back, up to my chest, down into my legs and my groin and everything. And I knew at that point something just wasn't right. It wasn't normal. And my wife was at college, and so I didn't want to trouble her too much, but the pain kept coming in waves and it wouldn't go away. I tried going to the toilet, seeing if it was that, and it wasn't. And I was doubled over. I was in absolute agony, and unfortunately it just didn't go away. Every 30 minutes then I was getting sickness feelings, and I felt like I was just going to purely puke. And I was sick twice, and I hadn't even had anything to eat, so I don't know what was going on. And I started to panic a bit. So I messaged Beck. She came home from college. She rushed home, and I found the ambulance as well. But the ambulance, as slow as they are, they'd issued one, but they said it was going to be 2 hours, so I couldn't wait that long. So she got home from college. We kind of bundled me off into the car, struggled to get up to the hospital, and when I got in, I was just in the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Moving around didn't cure it, sitting still didn't cure it, no position would cure it, and they took me in anyway, and they admitted me then, and I needed to have further scans, but they suspected 2 or 3 things. They suspected that it might be kidney stones. They suspected I might be on the verge of a ruptured appendix. They suspected a bunch of things. And unfortunately, that remained the situation for most of last week. They sent me home that night. I came back. I came home that night, had a few hours sleep, went back in on the morning for a scan. The pains had returned quite severely after the dosed me up the night before. And they admitted me properly on the Wednesday morning. There was not a lot I could do about that, but I had to have ultrasound scan, revealed nothing. I had to have a CT scan, I had to have x-rays, I had to have a million blood tests. I mean, they have punctured the shit out of my arm. I've got track marks on my arm here like a junkie. I counted the number of holes. I've got them in my wrists, I've got them in the sides, I've got them in the edges of my arm. There's a bunch in my elbow there. They tried my left arm. I've got a total of nearly 17 pricks in this arm, and it's this is my only good arm. And the problem is it's really taken its toll now, and I'm struggling to move this arm very well at all. So I was getting a bit pissed off with it all. I've had so much blood taken, it's unreal. But it's basically collapsed my veins, and now this arm's not working very well at all. But they did a bunch of tests, and it turns out after much poking around, it was actually kidney stones, but it took going for the CT scan with the radioactive shit inside you to actually identify them. And it turns out I've not just got one, I've got like a cluster going on inside, because being on aspirin for many years can give a problem with your kidneys. And it's one of the risks you run being on aspirin for that length of time, and it's also on the risks you run having the blood condition that I've got. So it kind of combined, and I've now got a bunch of pebbles kicking about inside my renal system, which is not ideal. And they wanted to fit a kidney stent, which is quite an invasive procedure. So they were keeping me in, but what ended up happening, they'd taken that long to diagnose it. I mean, bear in mind, you go in with a kidney stone, usually you're in and you're out within 24 hours. They give you something to try and help you pass it, or they just observe until you do pass it. But this one, the one that there was quite a problem, was nearly a centimetre across, and that's too large to pass. And with the other ones as well, they were concerned that it, doing any kind of operation was going to be more destructive. Not only that, because of how long it had been and because of how many there were, I developed serious fever, serious infection, and they wouldn't operate in any kind, even though I really needed it, because there was a big chance of me developing sepsis. Now, sepsis, for anybody who knows, is serious shit, and it's actually what killed my dad. So I can understand their concerns, and you can understand why they didn't want to operate. Whether it had been peritonitis or whether it was just the kidney stones and having to operate and put a stent in to widen the kidney passages, it was going to be quite bad. But while I was running a feeder, it was not good at all. So they couldn't operate, and I was it was a bit touch and go, because I was getting worse. The painkillers were having no effect. Morphine was doing nothing. They were pumping me so full of antibiotics to make sure I didn't develop sepsis, and they would not operate unless they could bring the fever down and eliminate some of the infection. My bloods were turning up all kinds of weird results, and they weren't happy. So that's what took so long. But the problem then became, what to do with me. I was in critical care for a couple of days, and then they moved me on to a standard ward by the weekend. Now, a few of you heard rumours I might be out at the weekend, and that was because by Friday morning, the fever had cleared quite a bit, but I was beaten around because they were waiting to operate. They had me on nil by mouth for the majority of the time I was there. So I've been in a total 5 days, and I basically have had nothing to eat and barely any water. Now, when you're trying to pass a kidney stone, you need fluids. You need to keep your system active, and I had nothing. As it happens, I weighed myself at the very start of it when we went in, and they weighed me again at the end, and I've lost, I think it was nearly 15 pounds in 5 days, which is a shocking amount of weight to lose. And they've said, I know it's not a lot off someone of my size, but it's still quite shocking to lose that in a short space of time. And it's a wonder I wasn't passing out more. And it's scary stuff. So I've never known pain like it. That they say ironically that it's like second worst pain to childbirth. Obviously, I'll never have a direct comparison, but I can tell you that the last ward I was on was directly next to the maternity ward, and all I heard for the last couple of days was women screaming. So I can feel their pain a bit. But anyway, they thought I was going to be out on Saturday. The bloods came back, and they weren't happy about it. So they just made me wait a bit longer. They said at the end of the day, we could send you home now. I know you need to get out. I explained what I do and where I needed to be, and they just says no. They said, because if we let you out now, it's our fault if something happens to you. So they didn't let me out anyway, and sod's law would have it, I then stayed completely clean for 24 hours. Still couldn't have nothing to eat or drink, but I did a complete 180. My temperature disappeared. I felt a million times better. I was back up on my feet, and I was just raring to go, but they wouldn't let me move. And then they finally made the call, and they finally took final blood test. Now, because they collapsed my veins, they ended up having to draw blood from an artery, which is seriously dangerous shit, in order to do a final blood test. So that's how fucked my body was. But anyway, they got the results back. They said, you're clear of infection. You don't appear to be in any more pain now. We can let you go. And literally, the minute they gave me that decision, I watched the clock. It was 3 p.m. exactly on Sunday evening, the minute that Revival ended for the weekend. So that's just a sad sense of irony there as to how that all worked out. But shit happens, and at least I'm here now. But it's when you've had a stroke, any other illnesses you get after that really batter your body around, and it's going to take me a lot longer to recover than the average Joe would. I'm seriously dehydrated. My electrolytes are through the floor. I've been groggy. I've been stumbling about a bit, and my focus hasn't been great. So I just thought I'd come on and do this video today, but I think this is about the limit of what I'm going to be able to do for the next couple of weeks. So I'm doing it all now, get it out of the way, so I can have a rest, if you know what I mean. So enough for the negatives anyway. I want to kind of come on to the positives. That's what happened to me. I'm all right. I'll be okay. But I know I worried a few people, not least of all my wife. So, yeah, I'm doing all right, and all being well, I should be fighting fit again for November. So anyway, Revival 2020 Part 1. Hope you all enjoyed it. A little bit of a change up from what we've been doing in the last couple of years. One thing I had to remind people, and I did explain it immediately after Revival last year, Revival 2019 very nearly didn't happen, and for about 2 years now, we'd been toying with the idea of either folding Revival completely, which we didn't want to do. We knew sustaining the big events it was far too hard to do. Most of it falls on my shoulders. It entirely falls on my shoulders financially. It pretty much falls on my shoulders in terms of reputation and, organisation. And it's a killer. And when you're not in the best of health like I am anyway, that's not an ideal, situation to be in, especially when there's no return on it. It's for not-for-profit event, right? So we debated whether we're even going to do 2019. 2019 was a big strain. The demographics are changing, the event scene is changing, and I was reading the signs, and so when 2019 ended up being our best event to date, it had the biggest attendance, the best reviews, the most highly respected, we said, well, we can't just let things go, let's just keep Revival going in a sustainable way. And with me turning 40 this year, I thought, well, let's be sensible about this. Let's cut out the summer events, because the schedule's mental for summer now. There's so many people trying to do events. They see what we do, they see what some of the big event organisers do, and they just assume it's easy. It's not. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot more planning than people give it credit for. And we only manage to do it as efficiently as we do because of the network of people we've built up over all this time. So my intention was to keep Revival going by kind of pulling it back to remind people of how we started and why we do what we do. And so, our first event went massive, and it was far beyond the scale we ever wanted to do. People always think, oh, you're dialing back. It's like, well, no, because this is, what you saw last weekend was how we originally envisioned it, and it's how some of the first retro events in this country started. And, you've got to bear in mind, this formed out of partnership with me and Chris Wilkins. Now, Chris's first two events, going way back to the early 2000s, they were very much of this ilk, but obviously with a lot less contributions from people and a lot smaller community then. And I just want to remind people that the hardcore, retro gamers, because ours is always going to stay purely retro, the hardcore retro gamers, they like to mix, and it's still got to be a little bit of a geek meet where people talk tech, they talk shop, a few faces and names from the industry are there, but it's still interpersonal enough. And the size event we did last weekend, I knew we could do standing on our head. And that's why I decided to do these events this year. If we'd have gone for an absence, people may have forgotten about us or may have thought we got serious problems. But it's like, what people don't understand is that events don't scale. So you can do an event as we did this weekend. I can tell you now, the numbers through the door this weekend, or the actual, we go what we call the real head count, which is the number of bodies who've been in on over both days, and the number of bodies we had in was nearly 900 over the weekend, which was incredible for a venue of that size. We even had a really good Sunday attendance because Saturday was so packed out. So 900 people. So we've just done an event for, say, 1,000 people, right? But the costs and the organisation and the help we get in order to do it, as well as everything else that goes with it, to create this event, for us now, we can create an event like this with 3 months' notice, right? Now, I know we started advertising it a long time before, but we used a new venue. We had to get that sorted out early. But yeah, we can do this without thinking about it too much, and that's what I wanted to do for this year. I didn't want to be committing all my time. If we then double that and we aim for 2,000 people, which is the kind of mark that we aim for with the big summer revivals like we did at the stadium or down at the race course, it doesn't scale proportionately. The costs, they're not twice as much. You're not looking for twice as many people, but you're not looking at twice the cost. You're looking at about 6 to 10 times the cost. And that's just the base cost, not even allowing for contingencies. The organisation goes from 2 or 3 months casual flicking advertising and whatever else to 8 to 10 months of background and research and getting promises off people. It doesn't scale proportionately, and that's why it's not that feasible to do a huge summer event every year. And we managed it so far, but over the years, some people no longer want to do it. Some people have left us because it's a lot of hard work. Other people, unfortunately, have left us because there's a lot of people on this scene and kind of involved in the hobby now who it seems like there's nothing more in their interest than wanting to try and make a buck out of their hobby, which is fair enough, but don't do it at the expense of enjoying your hobby. And the problem is a lot of people see that other people will throw freebies at them or pay them to go and attend other things, and that's just not something we can do. We're an independent, it just doesn't work like that. So we have to play our cards very close to our chest, and we have to be sensible about things. And when I say we, I mean me, because if the shit hits the fan, ultimately it comes down to me, and I would rather say no more than to try and hold a big one and have things come crashing down, because no one would ever want to do anything with us again. And every event organiser knows this. You've seen it happen with some big events. There's a couple of documentaries floating about online about things that have gone on in America, that events that have crashed out bad. Just recently, the Walker Stalker Con bombed out hard because they just weren't managing what they were doing. They weren't reading the signs, And looking at this year in particular, coronavirus, as as a bit of a joke as it was, it's now starting to impact quite seriously public events, outdoor and indoor events. So you're going to see the Spring and Summer Festival for 2020 is going to be obliterated by coronavirus because they're cancelling cons, they're cancelling business meets. My wife's company have banned all travel. Even this weekend, we asked people to stay away if they were concerned about their own health, or they already had their own health issues, and it did impact us. And as it happens, we did lose 2 of our exhibitors at the 11th hour, which obviously I wasn't around to deal with, which was a bit of a problem. But yes, you've always got to have these things in mind, you see, and I always kind of had things at the back of my mind. I'm someone who plays it safe, and I think that we made the right decision by going back to the smaller events for this year, because if it had been a little bit further down the line, we may have had to cancel the event altogether. So this is kind of bringing me on to where I want to go with this now. In my absence, obviously, that is another reason why the event may not have happened, and thanks to some stellar efforts, the event went ahead. And not only did it go ahead, it went ahead with 1 million last-minute revisions, with some things pulled out that some people didn't even notice were pulled out. And it went ahead with my wife, Aaron Davis, who's my second on this, and the team, really stepping up and dealing with this in my absence, as well as having to look after me, So it was quite a mammoth task, and I'm not a control freak, but there's a certain touch of my own mind I like to have on every event, certain fine points about the layout and the organisation, and I can make fast judgments on things that need changing. And it was very difficult for me to let go of that and let the guys deal with all that in my absence. But they did. They stepped up when they found out I'd fell ill. Aaron's been doing a lot more for me in the last 12 months anyway on the events. He's been all over the country collecting arcade machines, delivering arcade machines, coming to other events that we get booked to appear at, and just generally just being a good mate. And he stepped right up, and between him and Beck, they managed to sort out everything. The team went way beyond what I usually expect of them, and admitted it was nice for me to kind of let go a bit, and then for them to have a little bit more free reign. And you know, I am guilty, I suppose, of that, but it's just because I get visions of how I like to see things, and I stick to a bit too rigorously to them. But the guys, they improvised really well. We lost Don, who was meant to be doing a pretty wicked virtual reality display that's supposed to be up on stage. We lost that. Sega Junkie, who was supposed to be coming and doing the dedicated Sega area, we did kind of stick to a sort of a Sega area, but his collections unfortunately were absent, and it wasn't something we anticipated. Not only that, but the amount of tickets that flew out for Saturday, we started to get very concerned about how much space we would realistically have. And so when they were setting up the room on the Friday, my wife was back at the room while Aaron was out on the road, and she actually trimmed off a few tables here and there to make sure everybody could still walk around, make sure the traders still had plenty of space without compromising what we put out. And thankfully, the number of systems that were out were very close to what we anticipated anyway. And the idea is that even though the two events this year we want to be the same size and have roughly the same content, obviously that every little bit of a revival event, including arcades, pins, guests, visitors, you know, beer and food and all the competitions and everything, but we're trying to mix up the focused exhibits. So, you know, what you don't get at this one, expect to see next time. You know, like we didn't have as big a Vectorcade experience at this one, but the next one we probably will do. A few of the arcade guys backed out, that are usually part of our team, backed out this time because they have their own UK VacFest going on in May, and other things conspiring, which meant they couldn't provide machines. And they unfortunately had to drop out, and whereas in November it's the end of the season, not as much going on, it's going to be more realistic that we'll have that there. So, you know, it's going to balance out nicely. You're going to get everything you were getting the big ones over two events, you know, and obviously the advantage is if you missed one, you'll still be able to make the other. And for anybody who likes more than, you know, revival more than once a year, you got two chances at it. So, you know. But what was brilliant to me is a lot of people actually live streamed the event to me while I was at the hospital. They were doing it kind of undercover because I didn't really want to kind of make my presence felt too much and worry people. But yeah, they were live streaming, and I very much felt like I was there. It was really strange. I started to feel like I was there because in our group chat, all the guys were talking about exactly what was going on. They were keeping me in the picture. But they were keeping me out of the, you know, keeping the picture, but keeping me out of the organisation loop, and they were all dealing with it. And you know, I mean, I've got some photos to upload anyway. But you know, on our team this time, we got Big Mike come down from Scotland, bringing arcades and some wicked setups. We had a zero tolerance 2-player Mega Drive link up thing, which some of you will have seen, which was awesome. Mike arranged that. We've got Gareth, who's our man on the consoles. Gareth was on call for work all weekend, and he still came through for us. Woody, bless him, Woody has got all the home micro setups, and they're hard stuff to set up. The Southwest Amiga group, you know, they were there. A couple of them absent this time. Some new guys stepped up. We had Gil, we had Andrew, and we had Chris, and they all really did a great display on the Amiga front. Richard Broadhurst with the micros, of course. Lawrence Benyon helped me out with the Vectrex displays. All the Spectrum Next guys, of course, they weren't all scheduled to attend originally, and then as things kind of creeped on, they knew this was going to be the good one to show the first production Next at, and so that happened as well, which was really cool, and everybody really got the first taste and got their teeth into the Next there, which was good. We had a load of traders. I mean, there was 13 trade pitches, which is a lot for an event of this size. We still had around 20 arcade machines. Ian, Shane and Rich from UK VAC helped us out. Vic from the 10 Pence Arcade podcast, and Sean. You know, Loz and Bob were up on stage doing their thing. My wife and the family looked after the door. We had Spencer and Sarah there. We had Jenny helping as well. I'm trying to go for everybody's names. Blake couldn't even attend the event. He still turned up to help out. Steve Day, bless him, has really come through for us this weekend, taking trips up to Barnsley to deliver and fetch arcade machines. Ryan Cottrell, who used to work with me on the arcades, he's still helping with the events. Kev as well. Sorry Kev, I didn't even get to see you or speak to you for 2 minutes, but you are on one of the photos. Chris for helping out, sorting out the talks and pulling a few strings last minute. Obviously Aaron, Mike and Tony, who arranged the podcast open forum live session, which was very well received in fact. Simon Butler for coming along at the 11th hour and doing his own presentation. That was pretty cool. All of my traders, Dana's been a trader since day one, and Dana's now, he was helping us out. He was there at the start of the event and he was there at the end of the event, and he was grafting. Everybody absolutely grafts, People really do pull their finger out, and that they really do step up when it's needed. And obviously taking care of things out on the floor, in and inside and out. We've got our big Vinny. He makes sure there's nothing untowards going on. He makes sure everything's rolling the way it should be before doors open and long after. That's Steve Paget coming through on the pins. I only asked for a few this time, and he brought some great pins with him again, which was cool. We lost a few members of our team this time because of some last minute things. We couldn't have Simon Hardy this time, unfortunately. He was very ill, and we also lost Duncan Hawking because of recent things going on. It was a little bit strange for him, but he still turned up to the event and he just enjoyed it as a punter. And that's the thing about the whole community. We had pockets of people. Something that really kept me going over the weekend was I came home I came out of hospital to find a bunch of these kicking around when I got back, and I apologise, I'm straining when I stretch because I've still got some stomach pains, and a bunch of you had picked up a load of cards for me, and I've got messages from here from a bunch of you. Let's see, I've got Lee Cunningham, Cyber Snake Jay, I think we've got Ant Harper, Chris, Nick Brown, Vintage Gamer, Dana of course, got Jen, Sarah, Spencer. Oh, who else have I got? I've got loads. I've got Dungeon Dave. We've got Beerman. We've got Garen, Mike James, Tootie, Boggy. I've got it. Everyone's in here. So Cy Rosal, all of you. Thanks very much. It did cheer me up, and the amount of messages I got over the weekend, I couldn't answer them all. And I know I'm probably forgetting some people in this, but bear with me. It's been a blinder of a week, and it's been humbling to know that I've got such a good team around me. And if there's any names I've missed, I do apologise. I'm trying to thank everyone that I can, but obviously I can't remember everyone. I'm not in the best frame of mind right now. But everyone really did me a solid and helping me on the arc, helping me on every front possible. And it turned out to be really good. I've watched a few videos back. I'm currently compiling a little YouTube playlist like I always do, and I'll share it with you all once the rest of the videos come in. But I'd invited some people to come along. Rich Stevenson joined us. Rich Stevenson and his girlfriend came along and joined in on one of the talks, which was fantastic. Mike Daly signed a bunch of stuff which I kind of want to get to. This is one of the things that was missing, you see. I just want to share this poster. This poster was up at the event, and it was meant to be the centrepiece of a section that we would do in particular. Obviously, a lot of you knew Stuart Williams. He'd attended our events, he'd exhibited at our events, he'd provide prizes and things in the past. He was an avid gamer. He was one of the old school. He loved his old micros. He's into a lot of things, and unfortunately he died of cancer just before about autumn last year. Unexpectedly, we never realised how ill he was. And one of the big aims for Revival this time, we were supposed to be doing and I never even got to announce this. We were supposed to be doing a big live charity auction. Stuart left his entire collection to Revival, and I didn't feel it was right for us to hang on to it and kind of keep it that selfishly. And there's absolute mountains of old micros and software and hardware and all kinds of peripherals, and we can't make use of it. So some of that equipment is going to be going to the Retro Computer Museum. I'm donating a big chunk to them. But some of the more usable systems that I know that I already have, there's Commodore 64s, there's BBC Micros, there's Apple IIs, there's old Mac SE30s, there's a VIC-20, there's a couple of new things, PlayStations and things like that. But there was a load of stuff, and we did want to do a big charity auction on stage, and we were raising money for cancer research. Now we are going to carry that forward now, and I've informed his family, and we're now going to do that in November instead. It might be a bit further after the fact, but we had all the official packs come from cancer research and that, and we did have the tins out. A lot of you gave generously to that. I know that Spencer went around shaking people down in one of his latex outfits, so that probably took a few of you back, but it made people cough up some change. So but yeah, we're going to continue that, and we're going to do that properly in November, because obviously it's something we really want to do, and there's a good chance to pick up some really rare vintage computing at super cheap prices, but the money's going to go straight to cancer research. It's something that touches everybody, and obviously it's something very close to most people, including ourselves. So we're going to be doing that in November anyway, and we'll finally be carrying that on through. But yeah, besides that, the event itself, from what I saw the usual groups of people. I saw the groups of the small-time YouTubers. I saw all those guys getting together. The hardcore collectors all stood around swapping games and picking up for each other on the phone to other people saying, I've just found this, can I get that? You know, I saw the big drinkers, Mr. Hadlington, I noticed you're on here. I saw you and all the guys, and I did get a picture from you, thank you very much. I saw all you guys just enjoying a beer. Dean, how's it going, mate? You and the guys from Retro Asylum, I saw you on a lot of the pictures, I appreciated that. Jason Birch doing his repairs out on the floor, you know, the arcade guys sustaining things where they could, you know, there was just so much going on, but all I saw was smiles and happy faces, and as cosy as it got on that Saturday. The Saturday was heaving. Nobody ever seemed uncomfortable, and you know, people could still get past, people could still go out and have a break, not being too big. It was easy enough to get outside. The beers were flowing, the food was selling well. The manager of the venue, she was extremely happy by just how much people spent while they were there, and obviously the venue's happy. It means we get a better deal for next time, and it means that the event can, you know, they'll give us more leeway to do different things. So, you know, hopefully we'll sort something out. I know that there may have been one or two issues around like parking. There's not a lot of parking at the venue. I always try and pick venues with a lot of parking, but it's not always practical. And when you've got a venue like that, that's such good value, and where the staff are so understanding, you don't just want to let that go. So, you know, as difficult as parking was, my plan always was to have a word with the local business there and arrange additional overflow parking from the off. It was on my last things to do, and unfortunately I got struck ill, which is why you'll notice those last few attentions to detail weren't taken care of, because there was nobody to deal with it in my absence. Everybody was just trying to make sure that the whole event went ahead. And so obviously now I know I've got the feedback from the event. I've seen the floor plan, seen what works. I've got the feedback from the traders. I'll be going ahead and I'll be making those changes for November, and I'm going to be having a word with one of the local businesses there to arrange a full weekend car park for everybody. Probably have to pay £1 or £2 a day, but no one's going to grumble at that. And at least then everybody will be able to park right nearby. Apparently we took over half of Darlaston with the parking on the local streets nearby, but at least it was within, for those of you who got able legs, it was within walking distance of the nearest hotel. And Laurie stayed at the Premier Inn. If you didn't last time, definitely stay at the Premier Inn next time, because it's the nearest hotel. Get in early. I mean, do it now. You've got the dates for November. It's the same weekend, exactly the same dates, 7th and 8th of November. If you can get on that, book your hotels now, do it, because we're back there in November and you're going to want to try and grab the hotel as quick as you can before it all sells out, because within walking distance you can leave your car there, not even have to worry about it. But yeah, it was a cracking event, and a lot of people were taken aback and said how much Revival's always had a special vibe anyway. Chris Wilkins did a post about it, some of the regulars said it and said just how much it felt like a combination of those small pocket community meets from the early days as well as a big event. And that was what I was trying to capture with it, you know what I mean? Not everybody got it. A few of the more casual people who came, I think they wondered why we'd gone from doing such big events to such a small event. But, 900 people over a weekend is not a small event by any means. And when you factor in that we've had to travel up and down the country for arcades, we've got pinballs and everything involved, it's not that easy to get that equipment everyone thinks. And so for the staff to pull all that together in my absence was, quite frankly, it was astounding. I didn't think it would happen. I thought we'd have to cancel, and we didn't have to. And I've made sure now that ready for November, there'll be no chance. If I'm not available, I know that Aaron's firmly got things under control, and I know the rest of the guys are going to support him 100% with whatever they need to do. And obviously at this size, it's perfectly manageable that if none of our other exhibitors turned up, we have got enough equipment amongst ourselves now. We could do that size event without needing to think about it. We've got all the TVs, we've got all the consoles, we've got most of the arcades in our own collections. So it's never going to be a problem, so don't worry about that. But the only thing I'm bothered about is that I missed a good time. Had I been there, as the regulars will know, we usually do a Saturday night lock-in or big curry or something. Had I been out, I probably would have kept the doors open longer for casuals, let the traders get a few quid, and then we would just carried on drinking in there till the end of the night. But it's going to take, it needs me to be there to obviously make sure everything's kosher before we do all that. And hopefully November we will be able to do that. So, it's all gone ahead well. I'm really pleased how it turned out. I'm really pleased everyone had a good time. And I just want to thank all the team. I want to thank all the people who supported and brought extra stuff. I want to thank most of all my wife and Aaron for making sure everything just went ahead without a hitch. I mean, they've worked damn hard and that they've already got other things they need to be doing. And I just want to thank all of you for coming, because yes, we did this as a free one. This one we took a hit on it, and we took a hit on it just to bring you an event at our expense to remind you that we're still here and remind you that we're genuine about what we do. And hopefully people will be grateful for that. And come November, you'll all come along. It's still not going to be an expensive event. I can tell you now that we're going to be opening the ticket sales in the next couple of weeks for November. So keep an eye out for that. Probably be the first week of April. We're just going to see how this coronavirus thing kind of pans out. But yeah, first week of April, we're going to open ticket sales. I've got traders. If there's any traders watching this, I am now reserving tables ready for November. So if you want to get in, this is your opportunity to. I've already got a short list ready. And we will have some slightly different traders for November as well. But I'm always looking for suggestions for guests. We're always looking for new team members. We're always looking for new help and people to promote for us. So yeah, I just want to thank you all for coming and attending, and for all your best wishes, messages, and let you know that November is going to be awesome. And anyway, just because I wasn't there doesn't mean that I missed out entirely. I mean, I'm just going to flip this down here. In my absence, I mean, I've still got pickups from the event. The biggest of which nobody will have seen till the very end. The venue actually had a full Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine there until recently, which has got a slight fault, but they wanted to offload it. So at the end of the event, I bunged them a few quid, and I've now got a Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine to replace the one that I had that went down. So Done pretty well there. That's quite a big pickup. Gareth off my own team has got me an Acorn Electron because I'm starting to move into the micros now, and it's one of the systems I didn't have. I also acquired, I have my SG1000 fully fixed, and that's now back with me. One of the things I got off Aaron on our team, and we really wanted to mess about with at this event and never got a chance, is a pair of these. Not just one, but two of these bad boys, the Sega Lock-Ons, which was their version of the Quasar or Laser Quest kits. And we've got a pair of these now. They've not been tested. That's the only thing. We haven't tested them yet. We really, really want to see a bunch of middle-aged blokes strap these things on and take each other on around the event. And this is the perfect size event to do this. So if we get these working, I want to see a bunch of you pissheads volunteer to take part in a head-to-head laser tag on the Sega Lock-Ons. And I think it'd be pretty awesome to see a bunch of the guys going around on this. You can actually attach other systems, so we may get some more. But yeah, we've got two, and if they're fully working, expect to see that in November. That'll be really cool. The final thing, of course, which was just 10 shades of awesome, and this arrived as a surprise, is this bad motherfucker right here. This is the fully cased Spectrum Next. I know they've been rolling out for a while now, and obviously I've already got the development Spectrum Next, which I've had in my case. This is the one you see on all my streaming videos where I've been previewing all the latest games and everything for the last 2 years. It's been relegated, but I'm sorry, I've decided I'm not going to sell this. It's been fully pimped out. It's going to have a lit keyboard and everything installed now. It's not being used for a while. It is one of the development boards, so it's a bit more of a piece of history. And I've done so much with it, I can't bring myself to part with it. So it's now going to become my workhorse. This is the one you'll probably see most at the events to be knocked about for people. But this one, is my fully boxed one. If you'll notice, should just pick up on camera, this is a yours truly Spectrum Next. You can see my name laser etched underneath there. I know it's reversed, but you can see it's got my name laser etched underneath, and this is the fully accelerated version as well. You'll see the extra ports on the back. I have the tip-top fully pimped spec. I expected to be one of the last. As it happens, I'm not one of the last. These have come out just before the accelerated. Now, that they hadn't even announced these were coming. I had an email to tell me. On the Saturday morning, that's what bugged me the most. I had in my email inbox and on my phone, I had a Yodel notification which said I was getting a delivery, and I knew it was going to be a Next. I actually expected it to be my brother's because my brother's had the accelerated. That's not a yours truly. And this arrived in my absence, so it would have been perfect that the original, the first hardware demonstration came at Revival 2016. The end of the Kickstarter ended during Revival 2017's event, and the first event to show the production next at is Revival 2020. And on that morning, I would have, if I'd have been out of hospital, I would have had my yours truly top spec. Only one of 100 of these made out of 4,000. I would have had my fully pimped Spectrum Next there at the event, and it would have been out there playing our own game, obviously, and which would have been the icing on the cake, really, because for everyone's having such a good time, that would have been a superb piece for me. But shit happens. You can't really be helped. I'll tell you what, I am extremely happy with that. It works better than my development version does. It's a lot more stable. The case is superb. It's got really good weight to it. I'm going to be covering it all in, obviously, one of my upcoming videos for sure. And it's obviously spurred me on now to get my arse into gear. I've got to take some time off work. I'm going to be working on development of my next game with Jim and Mike. And we're going to get Revival Survival Next finished. So I was really happy to come home at least. My wife sent me... She unboxed it for me on video, and obviously now it's here, and I'm going to take some time off now while I'm recuperating, and I'm really going to get back to grips with this again. So I'm really happy about that. So you can see not being there doesn't mean I don't get to enjoy at least a portion of it. I know a lot of you had some wicked beers, I know a lot of you had some wicked chats, and I know a lot of you said, you know, you'd love to see us return to full scale. It may happen, it may not. I honestly don't know. I don't know what our plans are yet, but you know, everyone's enjoyed we've done this. People know now not to miss November because none of that flavour's been missed. And so many people are pissed that they missed last weekend. So get your arses there in November. Buy your tickets early. Don't try and chance it last minute. I had to refuse so many people who I know and I don't want to turn away, but I said, you can only come Sunday. And they don't want to miss the vibe, so get your tickets damn early. Please, just book your tickets early. It's only a couple of quid, you know what I mean? There's no excuses. And I'll see you at the next one properly. And we'll have a good crack to kind of see the season out, because come November, obviously the season's petering out and there isn't a lot left before Christmas then. I would have liked it a little bit closer to Christmas, but it wasn't possible. Glad you think so, Jim. I think the weekend was brilliant and you guys really did seem to enjoy yourselves. I'll speak to you about the layout and things like that after this. I know where you were wasn't ideal with the loudness of the pins and that, but again, this is all stuff. Had I been there, I may have been able to do something about it on the spot, but there was a lot of improvisation going on and it still worked really well. The Spectrum Next area was chocker, as always, and I think, you know, people really got to feel, people got to get to grips with the Next there, which is what I was hoping for. Just because it's not a massive event, it's engaging with the people who really need to know about it. And, you know, like I say, the Kickstarter ended as a revival. It got hundreds of sales just from people at Revival that weekend, so you know it's the right place to be. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to finish having my dinner, but I'll be back soon to talk about things. But I just wanted to check in and let you know how I was getting on, show I'm not dead, and tell you that I'm glad you all enjoyed the event, and I'll see you all soon. But stay posted to my Yam Retro Gaming channel, stay posted to Revival channels, get your hotels booked for November, and pretty soon you're going to see the rollout for part 2 of Revival 2020. But see you all later.